Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to walk you through another horrifying situation. At approximately 6 p.m. on September 27th, 2020, a guy made an emergency services call. The man said in the call that a neighbor woman had run up to his house pleading for help, and lamenting county dispatchers had recorded it. She stated that she was escaping her spouse, who had just physically assaulted her inside the home. Despite her constant wailing, the woman did not appear to be a victim because she was carrying a gun. When police officers got to the scene, they discovered the husband's attacker still alive and suffering from 2 gunshot wounds in the bedroom. 2 were to the chest and 1 to the leg. The right arm was also lightly hit by the bullet. 4 empty shell casings from a .45 caliber handgun were discovered next to the wounded victim, and 2 more bullets were discovered in the wall. After being brought to a nearby hospital, the man passed away from his wounds an hour later. She did not alert law enforcement, despite the fact that police interrogated her and thoroughly investigated the scene of the tragedy. That evening, detectives started looking into her claim of self-defense, even though she was not taken into custody. Ashley Benefield was the injured woman, while her husband Douglas Benefield was the one who died. But let's investigate the actual course of events that day and whether Ashley may have genuinely rescued herself by shooting her husband. August 2016, sunny Florida is where our story starts. Douglas Benefield and Ashley Byers first connected at a Republican fundraiser in Palm Beach. After supper, the man asked the young girl for her phone number. He was so taken by her. Their passionate correspondence started that same evening. Ashley Byers, 24, was employed at the Donald Trump campaign headquarters in Sarasota at the time they first met. Her role involved organizing demonstrations and urging Christians to cast ballots. Ashley was not just involved in politics but also aspired to be a model and dancer, performing periodically with the Maryland Youth Ballet. But Ashley's aim was to launch her own ballet company and become a well-known ballerina. Ashley was 30 years Ashley's senior. He was a successful consultant for technology businesses and defense contractors, originally from Charleston and a former Navy pilot. In addition, he owned a restaurant and dealt in real estate. Douglas raised his 15-year-old daughter Evia by himself after becoming a widower approximately a year ago. The love of guns and conservative principles united the adult man with the little girl. Even though they were very different in age, they hit it off right away, and 13 days later they were married. Charleston, Douglas's hometown, hosted a little celebration. The sole person invited was Trip Cormany, an ordained Episcopal clergyman at the time and a friend of Douglas. Although Trip wasn't happy and felt that their time together had been too brief, he nonetheless consented to officiate the wedding because Douglas was a devout follower and wanted to wed Ashley before they had any intimate relations. The wedding was a surprise for the remaining members of the couple's family and friends. Douglas did not even send his daughter a wedding invitation. At the age of 15, Eva Benefield was still dealing with the trauma of losing her mother. When Eva returned from school 9 months prior, she found her mother Renee's lifeless body. Undiagnosed cardiac ailment was the cause of her death. Eva was taken aback by her father's unexpected union with a girl barely 9 years her senior. Ashley and Eva's relationship did not work out after Ashley moved into Douglas' Charleston home, which led to many arguments and scandals within the family. The intimate father-daughter bond was severely strained by Douglas's new spouse. Ashley didn't want to be her husband's daughter's friend or stepmother. Eva, however, believed that she was only losing her father. Douglas pledged to fulfill his wife Ashley Benefield's ambition of starting a ballet company that would feature dancers of different ethnicities and shapes. He looked up to his new bride. Ashley was always getting romantic dates and surprises planned by Douglas, who also gave her flowers and complimented her on her appearance. Ashley was a great beauty, tall and lean and elegant like a swan, and she enchanted everyone she met. Her lengthy brown hair, which resembled a bird's plumage, added beauty and glitz, and her blue eyes exuded friendliness. Douglas was willing to go to any lengths for Ashley since he saw only spiritual purity in her. Her desire came true so quickly. Ashley's love of ballet and Douglas's financial acumen came together to form the American National Ballet in Charleston, where they advertised to cast ballet artists from throughout the nation. Managing a for-profit school and a non-profit ballet company was the aim. Ashley and Douglas started holding the initial auditions in the summer of 2017, but Ashley was contemplating a pregnancy and dreamed of being a mother in addition to founding a dance company. This is precisely what transpired during the ballet company's formation. About 40 dancers from all over the world started traveling to Charleston in the late summer of 2017 in order to train with Ashley. However, she failed to appear for any further auditions. Douglas took full responsibility for the task. Michael Wise, a ballet teacher, was hired by Douglas to instruct the dancers. However, a lot of dancers were waiting for Ashley. She was pregnant, though, and she had no intention of taking ballet anytime soon because of a significant condition. Douglas persisted in supporting his wife in pursuing her ambition, even though there was rising hostility between Ashley and EVA to launch a ballet company with an original mission in Charleston. With the assistance of hired managers and choreographers, the man who was quite far from ballet attempted to govern the company on his own. However, the firm quickly found itself in legal hot water when a couple of dancers and choreographers sued, alleging they were fired a few weeks after being employed and accusing them of breach of contract. Ashley Douglas hired new managers after she left in an attempt to revive the ballet. Unfortunately, Ashley's original plan to have dancers of various ethnicities failed, and they made some very big alterations. Ashley and Eva's growing tension went unnoticed by Douglas since he was too focused on the ballet. Douglas lost it one day after Ashley and him got into an argument about EVA, and he pulled a gun and shot the ceiling of their house. People who knew him said it was out of character for the composed, non-aggressive Douglas. As Douglas was still working to establish the Charleston Ballet's work, Ashley returned to her mother in Florida in late August, reporting a difficult pregnancy. A group of dancers was brought into a meeting on October 23, 2017, instructed to sign non-disclosure agreements, and then fired. Ashley publicly criticized Douglas and the rest of the corporation on the internet. She said that the new management had ruined everything for which we had fought so hard, and that she could not support them or their policies. Designed to be unlike any other dance company, AB ought to have raised the bar on how it handles its dancers. The way it was handled should make everyone concerned feel ashamed. It was like a brilliant notion that had vanished like smoke. The American National Ballet was permanently shut down a few months later. By the time the ballet lawsuit ended, Douglas had lost more than $100,000. It was the end of his ballet nightmare. Douglas had worked closely with many dancers for a long time, so he planned a farewell party for AB. But instead of his expectant wife, he found a farewell message waiting for him when he got home. Ashley detailed all of Douglas' flaws in a 4-page letter, branding his treatment of her as possessive and domineering. She wrote that she was forced to leave him because of her concern for her life and the safety of her unborn child following the event in which he shot a gun into the ceiling. It broke his heart. However, Ashley's note turned out to be just the start. In the months that followed, Douglas had to deal with an even greater blow from the guy who held a special place in his heart. With hopes of mending, Douglas gave Ashley a birthday present in late November 2017. He knew his wife was a huge tea lover. He purchased a gorgeous teapot, as well as cups, saucers, and a specialty tea meant for expectant mothers. Ashley took the present, but she would not stand for it. Rather, she brought several accusations against Douglas. One of them involved contaminating her tea. After looking over her assertions, nothing was discovered to support such serious allegations. Ashley, however, did not stop there. In order to find out if she had been poisoned, she sent a sample of her hair to a different lab. Her hair had higher than normal quantities of metals. according to the analysis. Ashley checked herself into a hospital 3 weeks before to giving birth, all without telling Douglas. She was at the hospital, Tampa General. Fearing for her life, the woman stated that her husband had poisoned her, exposing the unborn child to heavy metals throughout pregnancy. Ashley continued by accusing Douglas of physical abuse in the absence of proof. She further asserted that he had imprisoned her in his Charleston house. She said Douglas was pursuing her everywhere, starting in Florida, even though he was hundreds of miles away. Since there was no way to verify the information Ashley had given hospital workers, management changed Ashley's identity to Christina in order to ensure her safety. Doctors performed a C-section 3 days later. Despite the newborn girl's health, Ashley was concerned that her child had been poisoned. But Douglas was not about to give up. He begged Ashley to reconsider in text after text message. Ultimately, he thought he still had a faithful, happy, and flawless family. But it had broken down in the most dubious way. Ashley was not in the mood to go back or even forgive Douglas. She made the decision to report her spouse to the police and level additional charges against him. After reporting that Douglas had abused his eldest daughter, Eva, she contacted Florida Child Protective Services to look into the matter. Ashley said to the police that Douglas struggled with anger management and detailed the day he shot a gun inside the home. Investigators spoke with EVA and Douglas, and they looked into the gun incident, but in the end, Douglas was found not guilty. Douglas was found to be safe and well after a comprehensive psychological evaluation conducted by a doctor. Unbelievably, Ashley penned a lengthy letter to Douglas once more. He was warned in the last paragraphs not to approach her or try to stalk her, or else the police would become involved once more. She didn't appear to be someone prepared to get back into a relationship. There was no mistaking her feelings as she sent Ashley Douglas another harsh note. The charges of poisoning escalated in the summer of 2018 when Ashley and Douglas appeared in court in Bradenton. Ashley requested for a restraining order, but Douglas wanted to see his newborn baby. However, Ashley's 2 days of evidence and the findings of her lab tests did not persuade the judge. Judge Diane Moreland ruled that there was not even the tiniest bit of reliable evidence to suggest that Ms. Benefield had ever been poisoned or experienced any poison-related disease. Douglas was able to visit his daughter at last thanks to this decision. He and Ashley got together outside the sheriff's office a few days later so the father could view the child. Ashley immediately became highly cooperative, much to the amazement of others around them. She then went straight to Douglas and gave him the baby with great grace. She even extended an invitation to hang out with the three of them. Douglas, Ashley, and their daughter appeared content for the majority of the ensuing year. Douglas even relocated to a nearby flat in Florida in order to maintain his proximity to Ashley without upsetting her. However, he was shocked to discover an engagement ring on his wife's finger when he saw Ashley in August 2019 to pick up his kid. To discover out what was going on, he engaged a private investigator. Douglas was notified by the private investigator that Ashley was seeing another guy, and that man had filed for divorce in November 2019. Soon afterward, Ashley started complaining to Douglas Benefield once more. Ashley charged him of acting inappropriately towards his small kid. She leveled several horrendous accusations against him. Douglas stubbornly denied hurting his daughter, and the authorities acknowledged the absence of proof. Then, in an email to the sheriff's office sent in March 2020, Douglas accused Ashley of having two distinct personalities. However, Douglas took an act that appeared unimaginable a few months later. He made the startling announcement that he and Ashley were relocating to Maryland in an attempt to try for a family. While holding their breath, friends prayed that her parents' amazing reunion would soon occur for the benefit of their small kid. Douglas Benefield was getting ready to start over on September 27, 2020. He was traveling from Florida to Maryland with Ashley, their small baby, and Ashley's mother, Alicia. So let's say that Sunday night is here. It is roughly 5:30 p.m. At this point, Ashley meets Douglas to begin moving-related packing. Packing cheerfully at Alicia's house are Douglas and Ashley. Alicia makes the decision to walk the infant to a local park. Douglas is left by himself with Ashley. As they converse, Ashley abruptly says they're moving without him. Douglas was furious. He cried out that they would all move in together and begin a new life. Enraged, the man started shifting filled crates. Douglas is accused of grabbing Ashley Benefield's left arm, yanking her back, and asking her where she was going when she attempted to leave the house. "You can't leave me," he said, threatening her with his index finger like a mischievous child. However, Ashley found it sufficient to make her worry for her life once more. With her revolver in hand, Ashley Benefield rushed into her bedroom. Douglas was told to leave her alone and leave the house as she aimed the gun at him. Douglas kept moving towards Ashley without stopping in the hopes of calming her down. She started to shoot as he moved closer to her. Ashley watched as Douglas went down, his feet slipping out from under him, and his legs shot out into the air. Screaming for assistance, the woman rushed to the neighbor. While walking their dogs, two neighbors noticed her running outside with a rifle, sobbing and yelling. Though Ashley hasn't said anything, only she truly knows what transpired that evening at the house. Ashley was taken into custody and charged with second-degree murder 5 weeks after the shooting. She made a not guilty plea. She was detained for over 2 weeks before being released on bond. Ashley commenced her cooperation with law enforcement on November 4, 2020. She was officially detained and accused with second-degree murder at that point. She is being detained without being allowed to post bail until a later court appearance. Ashley Benefield shot her husband in self-defense, according to the defense, which filed a move to dismiss the case in February 2023. Her version of events, which explains what precipitated the fatal shooting, is presented in the 105-page film. Neil Taylor, Ashley Benefield's lawyer, stated that the move is an effort to present her side of the tale. Ashley Benefield's attorneys included supporting documentation, images, and proof in their move to dismiss. These include pictures of Douglas Benefield with an ideal body and strength, a picture of Ashley Benefield with a black eye, and a cut on the side of her body that she allegedly sustained from a moving box that Douglas was supposedly shoving in her way. The defense argues that pictures of her wounds were shot on the same day as the incident. Defense lawyers have made every effort to link Douglas to acts of cruelty and unrestrained aggression. They have also added to the evidence Douglas's long-standing admission that he punched their dog and a hole in the wall. He is said to have acknowledged, in July 2018, taking a revolver out of his sleeve and shooting at the ceiling. He even threw it at a wall in an effort to quiet Ashley Benefield during a fight. Assistant State's Attorneys Suzanne O'Onnell and Rebecca Friel, along with Ashley Benefield's lawyer Neil Taylor, contested whether Ashley Benefield's actions on the night she shot Doug Benefield were in self-defense during the initial hearing. A move to have Ashley's case against her ex-husband dismissed was turned down by a Lamenting County judge about 2 months after Ashley's initial court appearance. Circuit Court Judge Stephen White stated that the state had demonstrated via the weight of the evidence that Douglas Benefield's death was the result of Ashley Benefield's prolonged and deliberate efforts, rather than a single act of required self-defense. The court agreed with the state that there was probable cause to proceed with the case. Rejecting the defense's version of events, Judge White stated in the finding that the defendant is not entitled to judicial immunity from prosecution since the state's competent and substantial evidence clearly and convincingly shows that the defendant was not justified in employing deadly force against the victim on September 27, 2020. Thus, Ashley Benefield was not granted immunity or the case's dismissal. The prosecutor and the judge were not persuaded to fire based solely on the evidence that was given in court. According to court records, Douglas Benefield visited his child at the Lakewood Ranch residence, where the suspect was staying with her mother on that fateful September 27, 2020. After they got into a fight, he was shot. Later, in a nearby hospital, he passed away from his wounds. Ashley Benefield said that when she attempted to get away, Douglas grabbed her and started punching her. According to the authorities' affidavit, Douglas was not facing Ashley when she started shooting, based on the entry wounds on his body. Additionally, he adopted no defensive stance. There was not a weapon discovered on or close to Douglas. However, Ashley's claim of self-defense proved troublesome when investigators dug deeper. The man apparently had no idea that his cherished wife would shoot him. Ashley Benefield is awaiting trial and maintains her innocence. She hasn't entered a guilty plea yet. There are still a lot of unsolved questions about Douglas and Ashley's marriage. All that is known is that, according to her own admission, she killed her spouse by shooting him. Is it possible that Ashley was ready to protect herself at any time of day or night because she truly feared Douglas? She could have been terrified of him. Of course. One of the most powerful and readily influenced human emotions is fear. But fear cannot exist in the absence of something. Ashley had spent years living in a made-up fear and expecting to be attacked at all times. She put a finger in her face and killed her husband for it? It seems a lot like paranoia when you consider that it was worthwhile to have Ashley and Douglas evaluated by a psychologist in addition to the poisoning claims. It's difficult to determine if Ashley was a cunning manipulator or a victim. Ashley was ultimately accused with second-degree murder and is still awaiting trial. According to Florida Stand Your Ground law, an individual may use or threaten to use lethal force against another person provided they have a good basis to believe that they are in immediate danger and that they do not need to flee. This implies that a person in Florida has the right to self-defense if they feel that they are seriously in risk of being hurt or killed and they are not committing a crime. In contrast to conventional self-defense regulations, one is not required to attempt to flee from an attacker first. The onus now shifts to the prosecution to demonstrate that the shooting was not warranted after the defense claimed the right to use stand your ground. Before scheduling a new hearing, Taylor stated that he anticipates District Court Judge Stephen White to provide the prosecution adequate time to review and comprehend the motion. Ashley